Hello, my name is Dr. Dan Kahinka. I'm an industrial organizational psychologist, and I am a professor. I'm also a scientist. I study spirituality and religiosity or religion and its relationship to things like stress and well-being and how it can impact leaders. This class that we are going to be engaging in is I find particularly interesting because what we will do is not only apply the science behind leadership and how to be a more effective leader, but also, more importantly, we will examine Jesus Christ and his abilities as a leader, particularly 9 characteristics that he exhibited as a leader. We will, during this time together, we will go ahead and examine specifics from the Gospels of where he applied these 9 characteristics and closely look at how that perhaps impacted his ability to be a leader, how it impacted his followers, and ultimately how it impacted his entire ministry. What does that mean to you? Well, you can apply these 9 characteristics to yourself as a leader, whether it be within an organization, or if you think a little bit more creatively, you as a leader, perhaps in your household, as a father or a mother or a brother or a sister, or among your friends, or in different nonprofit groups, or as a volunteer leader, or as a follower. I oftentimes will teach my students that being a follower, just because you don't have a title, does not mean you cannot serve in a leadership capacity. So this class, I believe, can help anyone out, perhaps even no matter what your age, position, title, whatever may be. Now, as we examine these 9 characteristics, we will go through them in great detail. However, for now, let's just take a quick preview of what we will be examining throughout the next 9 lessons. We will examine Jesus, who exhibited the characteristics of being not self-promoting. In other words, he did not have to himself say, I am your leader, or I am the Christ, I am the Messiah. He did not have to do that. He had plenty of people that were willing to do that for them. And if you think about this, how much more effective you can be as a leader if you have other people saying, listen, you need to listen to this person. They are our leader. They are going to help us succeed. Being obedient and resistant to temptation. Think about how you as a leader can be more obedient. First off, it may sound kind of funny at first because you're like, well, I'm the leader. Aren't I supposed to be the one that's supposed to be telling everyone what to do, for instance? Well, that's a manager, not a leader. So we will go over at how to be a more effective leader by being more obedient to your followers, perhaps being more obedient to those that you represent, whether it be the organization or the customers or your family or whoever it may be that, again, that you are leading. And then also resistant to temptation. There are many temptations as a leader, and too many to go through right now, but there are many temptations. And we're not talking just about those perhaps sinful temptations, but also temptations that just may lead you down the wrong path as a leader. So we'll get into that in great detail later. Jesus also cast a vision with clarity, simplicity, and directness. Casting a vision for any leader is critical. That is why you are called a leader. A leader is someone that, again, does not necessarily manage and tell people what to do. That is a manager. But a leader will create a vision for what the group, those followers, those teams, where they want to perhaps end up or strive to be. Jesus, of course, did an amazing job doing that. Being a team builder, that is something else we will go over. And as many of you know, Jesus was an exceptional team builder. What did he do? Well, fast forwarding till today, he built the greatest team in history, in Christianity. But of course, what did that begin with? It began with 1 or 2 individuals as he began to develop his team of disciples and apostles, and ultimately created an amazing team. So once he was no longer physically present, he had his team out there that was able to now spread his word. And as part of that, of course, to be a relationship builder. We will go over how Jesus developed those relationships very strategically, mind you. As an example, the first disciples that he made, or that he encouraged to follow him, they were brothers. Well, what did that do for him? That immediately helped him develop relationships with strangers who already knew each other, so perhaps they were a bit more comfortable with going off alone and leaving everything behind and following this individual, being Jesus. So it was a very strategic approach, and that's just one example. But Jesus definitely built relationships and did so at the individual level. He was an amazing interpersonal communicator. That's one way of looking at that. Express control and authority. When needed, Jesus would express his control, whether it be in his miracles over demons and other forces, such as even earthly forces, such as the weather. He exhibited his control and authority over them. He also demonstrated his authority as Jesus Christ and as the Messiah and as the individual that knew the Bible better than anybody and knew why those words were originally written. He had the authority to say, this is me that this was being written about. So he exhibited a great amount of authority when needed, but he also did not overuse his authority, which he could have, right? He was the most powerful individual and being in the universe, but he did not do so. So he exhibited his authority when needed. Engage a crisis head on. Jesus definitely did that. If you think about the crises that he encountered, whether it be the Pharisees who were challenging him on some of the things that Jesus said, whether it be facing death early on with individuals wanting to stone and kill him, to finally later on when he was being accused of being king of the Jews, and he ultimately faced he faced the ultimate crisis head on, and that was his final torture and crucifixion. Practice daily prayer. For people that are not believers in any form of religion, for that matter, perhaps do not pray, but they still perhaps may practice meditation. And in the field of psychology, meditation has many various benefits. In the area of religiosity and religion and spirituality, prayer has those benefits and much more. Because now not only is there the benefit of that physical ability to stop and rest and reflect, but also that opportunity to communicate with God and communicate with Jesus, and be able to say, how can I be better? Can you give me strength? What else can I do? All of those questions that perhaps a leader needs to ask, and all of those things a leader perhaps needs to have help with, that many times others cannot help them. So prayer is critical, and Jesus exhibited that again throughout his life. And then finally, empowering others. Jesus knew that he would not be around in a physical form forever. So right from the beginning, he empowered others. He built his team, he built those relationships like we've already addressed, but then he empowered others. As an example, he sent his disciples out in twos to work with each other. In the field of education, that's critical. We're teaching each other. That's one of the best ways that we can learn, is to teach each other, or the best way. He empowered them to do that, but he also gave them the power, for instance, to perform miracles and to communicate his word. Now, you as a leader perhaps cannot give people the ability to perform miracles, but in some sense you can. And we're not talking about from a religious standpoint, but there are many things that people can do that may surprise you as a leader. But the first thing you need to do perhaps is, of course, not only teach them and among other things, but is to empower them, to give them the ability to make decisions, to, if you will, you are teaching them how to fish, so go let them fish rather than just giving them the fish, right? So empower them, give them the ability to make decisions that may even include times when they're going to make mistakes. But that is critical as a leader, is to empower others and give them that opportunity. I hope this brief preview helped you better understand the upcoming lessons that we are going to go through and how Jesus can be the best leader that anyways that I can think of, but how Jesus can be a great leader that we can emulate, that we can in turn learn from and become better leaders ourselves. Thank you very much. This is Dr. Dan, and I do wish you a happy and blessed day.